Hello and welcome back. In today's video we're gonna put frets back on the neck. So between this video and the last video I had to reshape this a little bit because it was a little bit high here, and I basically had to just plane it down a little bit and then reshape it, checking every now and then while doing this so I didn't plane down too much. Just checking, making sure it was flat across the entire neck. And I just used a metal ruler to do that, basically like an unnotched straight edge. Anyway, here's the neck right now. It looks okay, and here's the other side. There is only one small issue we've had. Actually, there's only like 2 or 3 issues we've had, and one of them is that we've had a little bit of tear out right here somewhere. You can see I'm not able to sand down that far because then I would have to recut the slots, and I don't want to recut the slots because that means I have to take off the binding. And as you might be able to tell, this neck is more issue than I feel like I want it to be. Anyway, the other issue we have is that by having to shape the neck, I have gone down into the fret marker a little bit. So if you see there's like a little blob. That's actually the side dot sticking through. And luckily it only happened a little bit on one place. And it's a little bit annoying, but honestly right now I don't care. I didn't think about the fact that the neck was warped, or rather I didn't check for that, which is a mistake. You should probably check for that before you start doing all this. I might also be that the neck actually warped between when I got it and now, because I took it apart and I left it in a box. So I don't know if the neck actually came to me warped, because I didn't notice any of that when I unboxed the guitar. But I have measured the water content of the body, and I've measured the water content of this neck, which I did 2 weeks before making this video, which will be 3 weeks when you see this video, because I'm aiming for this to be my last video of this series for now, and being a Sunday video. And the body had actually, I think it was, if I remember correctly now, somewhere around 30% water, which is really annoying because I don't like that at all. And the neck was at 15%, and I don't like that either. I don't think you can make a neck if it's not below 10. I think you need to dry the wood then. It's just, you can't do that. But I think it's gone a little bit drier now because I've been trying to dry it, force it to dry a little bit. And I have a meter like this right here, and we could actually just stick it in the neck and see what happens. So you just have to press it in at a place with a grain, and I'm not getting any reading. Yeah, it's not giving me any reading. Never mind. Anyway, I've sanded the neck up to 400 grit, and it's really nice and smooth. I haven't sanded the rest of the neck, so if you think the binding looks a little bit dull and boring, it's because that. I'm going to do that later. The fretboard needs to be sanded and be nice and smooth because we're going to put in frets, and it's going to be really hard to get in between the frets to sand. You can obviously do that. You just have to make a sanding block that is really thin, so that you can basically move like this. And that's sort of annoying to have to do. And you have to mask off all the frets so you don't accidentally bump into them and scratch them. Also very annoying. But anyway, the neck is ready for frets. I have some StewMac frets right here. I think they're vintage frets, if I remember correctly. If you want to know if it matters, ask in the comments below, because then I'll check. Let's just jump into bending the frets and cutting them to size. And then we can smack them right into the neck. This intro is too long. Okay, so here we have my fret bender or whatever they are called. This is a really cheap thing I bought off like Amazon or eBay. I think actually it was eBay, because I try to avoid Amazon. I have it clamped here in my vise so that I don't have to fiddle with it and hold it weirdly. And you're gonna see real soon why not having to fiddle or anything is important. You could obviously build some sort of base for this to hold it in place. I haven't done that, but the way this works is you have a crank on the back here that you move to pull the fret. And it's basically super simple. You can build one of these. It has this wheel here. And what you have to do is you have to make sure you have enough pressure to make the wire be bended as it goes through. Thing. And then we just have to move this enough for when it, so it can pass through a little bit. This. And now it's in. We can press it down a little bit. And you have to do it with the tang up, because if you do it the other way, it will be bent the wrong way. And now we can just roll it through, and as you can see, it gets a slight curve push into it. And we have to do 2 lengths of this, because I think we're gonna need more than 1 for a neck. That's usually how it goes. And now we can hold this piece up to the neck, and we can see that it is actually already pretty close, but it's not close enough. So we have to go back here and we have to adjust this, push it down a little bit more, put this in, and make sure it is really straight in there and that it's not being pulled to the side or going in crooked, because that would make the whole thing not straight and bend off to the side, and that's not what we want. We want it to be straight and just match up the radius of the fretboard. So yeah, be careful, but it's not overly complicated. And if it gets a little bit slanted to the side, like this has a little tiny bit, it's not a problem. But if it gets like as, you know, bent like this is right now, but also on the side, then you have an issue. Now you might have to go back and forth with this a couple of times to match it up. You just match it to either a radius block that you sanded the neck with, or you check it with the neck. And obviously, depending on if you have a fretboard that changes the radius as it goes up, you're gonna have to do this a lot and reshape it as you go. But most of the time, you have one radius for the entire fretboard, and so you only have to match it once. Now we're done with this, and we can start cutting the frets. So what we need is our neck, and I have it clamped at the headstock so it won't move, at least not too much. And then we have our fret wire, and we have a tang that is with a cutter head like that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna oversize these a little bit. So I'm gonna put it in just temporarily as far up as it goes, so right up next to the binding. And I'm gonna mark out, or not actually mark out, but I'm gonna cut maybe, let's say 3 mils too much, like so. And that's because we have about a mil and a half of binding on each side, and so having just it stick out a little bit extra on both sides like this, as you can see, maybe, hopefully, is gonna be what we need, because we have to take away some of the tang so that it will overlaps over the binding, basically. Now, obviously, that depends on what sort of style you're going for with the binding and the frets, but I'm going for the overhanging fret thing, because for some reason, maybe it has to do with, you know, what is considered to be a classic guitar or something like that. That's my view of how it should look. But if you want the little tab things that I've seen Gibson have, then you can definitely do that as well. So just make sure that it's a little bit in. And when I say in, I just mean like barely. So you don't have to like force it or anything. A good thing is to use a longer handle, because if you have to do this a lot, you have to do, if you want to get really good at it, you're gonna have to cut a lot of frets. And the longer handle you have, the further out you can hold on the pliers to cut, like out here. And that means that you will have more power with your hands than you would otherwise. One thing more to say before I just jump into the next part and do all the fret cutting myself is, you see how it's like T-shaped, or maybe you don't. It's basically T-shaped. You have the two sides of the fret and then the like tang that goes down, so it's basically a T. Try to cut it straight with the tang and not angle it in a weird way, so that it looks good, basically. Okay, so all the frets are cut to, you know, an approximate size. They're all laying out nice and neat now, and I just wanted to show you that this is how much spill I got, these two pieces right here. Okay, so the next step here is just taking each fret just one at a time, going down the neck and just removing about 1 mil of the tang so that it fits inside. I have to remove a little bit more on each side because the fret is oversized. And you can do this in a lot of ways. There is a specialized tool for this that a lot of people will use, but I don't have it. And you don't need it. You can use a Dremel, or you could use a file and just remove it super quickly. It doesn't have to be extremely perfect, as long as the back of the top of the fret is flat so that it lies flush with the wood of the fretboard. You could use a file and just clean everything up, but what I'm doing right here, as you can see, is I'm actually using my sharpening station, the wheel of the finer grit, to just quickly take off the edge. And it's maybe not the best way to do this, but I don't have that specialized tool, and maybe one day I'll get one, because having the right tool for the right job is always the best way to go. It might be the right tool for the job, but this does work. There's a lot of ways you can do this, and as long as you're being careful and using like safety precaution. I'm wearing eye protection and ear protection in this clip, even though you can't see my face. And yeah, I'm being very careful and making sure that I'm not doing something that is either bad for, you know, my health, like safety thing, but also that I'm being careful so that I'm not ruining my frets. You can blast through this pretty quickly, actually. You don't have to spend hours on hours doing this. Okay, so all the frets are now cut to the right length, and I've made sure that they fit within the binding. Super easy to do. You just hold it up to the slot and look and see if there is enough space between the binding and the tang. And a good thing is to probably try to have a little bit more space, so maybe like 0.5 mil or something like that on each side, so that it just is enough place for like glue or something like that. And so now there's only one thing left to do before we do the rest. That didn't make any sense. But that's because when I said there's only one thing left to do, I realized there were more than one thing to do. And the first thing is we're going to hammer in the frets. And I'm going to use my little carpenter hammer. It has a nice flat head and it's neat and nice. And I do have a fret hammer. Sorry, I almost smashed my own camera there. That was a stupid joke. But my niece loves that hammer and she's run off with it. So I don't know where it is. She is a 4-year-old, you know, they do what they do, and that's what they're doing. So yeah, let's just jump into putting in these frets. And it's going to be super easy. All we need to do is we need to just take one fret at a time and just apply a tiny bit of glue and then just push it into place, make sure it looks right, and then just tap it in with small little blunts. You can use basically anything that is a smaller sized hammer to do this. You don't need to go overboard. And just, you know, tap all the frets into place. And then make sure there are no gaps or anything weird. We need the glue to make sure that the thread end where the binding is and there is no tang doesn't get lifted up, because that can be a space for your string to get caught, especially the higher E. And that's, you know, like a disaster if you're playing live or something like that. If you're playing and all of a sudden one of your string is, you know, caught on something and it can't move, and you're basically just playing maybe, you know, the 17th fret on your high E string over and over again, no matter what else you're playing. That could be a complete disaster. So it's really important to make sure that all the little ends that sticks over the binding are neat and nice, and that they truly are stuck down so nothing can get in under. We have all these sharp edges of the fret tangs and we need to cut them off, because as you can see I have a band-aid on my finger, and it's because I accidentally cut myself on them. And the thing is, you have to put a band-aid on immediately, because you don't want to get blood on your newly sanded fretboard, because it's going to be hard to get out. Don't put super glue in your wound. I've seen a certain person do that here on YouTube, and I just want to say that you can actually like get blood infection doing that, so it's not a very smart idea to do. So don't do that. Just put a band-aid on and let it heal like it normally would do. Anyway, I'm just taking my fret end nipper that you've seen earlier, and I'm just cutting as close as I can, and then I'm taking a file and I'm just moving the file down, and I'm filing down and only down because I don't want to accidentally pull the fret out of its socket. And here is the neck now. Wow. As you can see, all the frets are in, and yeah, I need to do a little bit of cleanup. I need to, you know, smooth out the edges and make them perfect and all of that. But that's, you know, minor detail that I'll do on the side and not in this video. I also need to clean up some of the super glue that has spilled out on the side a little bit. It looks a little bit messy, but I'm going to clean that up. And then I'm going to sand the entire neck and lacquer it. But I'm going to do that later down the line. I'm not sure when, because I want to think about what I want to do with the body first and make sure that this neck matches it. I'm also thinking that maybe I should put some sort of color on the fretboard. Maybe that could be fun, you know, to make it like a, I don't know, a little bit reddish or orange in color. Just a hint, not, you know, solid, like see-through something. So that it matches the back of the neck a little bit better, but also because it might be fun. I have no idea. I'm not sure what to do, but that's something I'm thinking of. I'm also, you know, I'm thinking that I'm gonna clear coat the neck, but I'm also thinking that maybe I will reshape the neck, because as you know, I already have one of these guitars, the one I used for the kit build of this guitar, or that I'm using as a kit. Yeah, so what I'm thinking is that it would be fun if it was a little bit different than that one, because it's, you know, not very fun to have two guitars that are exactly the same guitar. The only difference is the color. I'm actually lying, that's super cool. I want like 12 more Stratocasters, yeah. Because just having 12 isn't enough for me. But if I have 12 more, I have a lot more. And they can all be the same guitar, just different colors. No, seriously, I think I'm going to reshape the back of the neck is what I'm trying to say. I'm thinking of a V-shape because I don't think I have a guitar with a V-shape. And so that might actually be interesting to have. You know, see what happens. But anyway, it's going to be the end for now on this neck because, yeah, I need to think a little bit. And I also feel like now it's been, you know, an entire week basically of one video a day. And though I like to do it that way, I feel like now it's time to take a break and focus on something else. We do have other things to make. You know, the channel isn't just about building guitars, even though that's a very big part of it. But yeah, see you in the next video when I'm doing something completely different. Maybe. I have no idea. Anyway, if you liked what you saw in this video, talk to me in the comments below. If you have any questions about refretting guitars, I do actually have 3 guitars more that needs to be refretted because I've played down the frets too much. And so, yeah, those guitars will need new frets at some point. They've needed new frets for actually a really long time. One of them for a couple of years, actually, and I've just been too lazy to do it. But now that I have a YouTube channel, I have no excuse not to do the work, so maybe I should do it. And I'm thinking that maybe I will actually like do 3 different methods of putting in new frets or something like that. I don't know. I have this method of hammering in the frets that I actually don't like. And it's one of those things, I don't do frets, like put in new frets that often. So I always forget that I want to experiment and try out a new method. I can find something that I actually like, but I'm always doing it at the last minute and I'm like, oh god, right, I forgot. I don't want to do it this way anymore. I'm thinking that I'll experiment with new ways of putting in frets, and I'll do that on those guitars because they need new frets anyway. And one of them is actually an acoustic guitar, so it's going to be a little bit different either way. Anyway, if you like the video, if you like the neck, if this whole series, small series of making this neck was good, if you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments below and press the like button, because that's how I know if, you know, I should make more of these videos or if you've had enough. No. Anyway, press the like button, and if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe because the channel needs to grow. I'm very happy with the people that are subscribed. I'm really excited by the fact that we are, you know, close to 500. As of recording this video, obviously we might pass that before then, but I don't think we will. But anyway, it's crazy that there are so many people that are awesome and cool and kind. And I really hope you, if you're not subscribed, will subscribe. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. Awesome to see you here. And yeah, on that note, stay awesome and cool. And you know, it's actually a sunny day, so it's time to go out and get some shade. That did not make any sense. Meow.